And we're live.
We're live.
Hey Grace, how's it
Hello.
going?
It's good. It's Friday once again.
Once again,
How's it
happy
over there in New York?
Friday. It's good. It's also
Yes.
Friday here in New York, so that's the good news. Um, yeah, it's been a while, Grace. I feel like we've
I
not had
know.
a couple weeks in a row.
It's true. It's true. I feel like
Crazy.
honestly, like a lot has kind of happened in the world in those few weeks.
Definitely.
I guess especially in tech, like SVB drama.
Oh yeah.
Now GPT-4 is out. I feel like social media platforms are doing stuff. So yeah, a lot of contenders for today's topic. But as you can see, we
Yes.
went with GPT-4.
Yes, we went with GPT-4 because I think that is probably the most interesting thing for your average creator, and could ultimately, it's funny, yeah, like, the SVB bank crash affected tons of people, but I wonder if this could even affect way more people.
Yeah. No,
And the
I definitely
potential
think
here is
it's
huge.
yes. Yeah. I think this is just the beginning for all of this like AI, GPT-4, like Chat GPT, like all of those things are just kind of emerging and we're seeing like I feel like every time I go on Twitter, it's like it's been 48 hours since GPT-4 launched. Here's all the
Yeah.
thing that you can do with it. And I feel like every day they're just gonna add to the list or they're gonna be like, it's been 1 month. Here's what you can do with it. So yeah, it definitely is exciting. I think there is a lot of things you can do with it. So yeah, we'll get into that today.
Yeah. So I think firstly, for everyone joining, if you guys, let's just talk a little bit about what is GPT-4. I think it's an important place to start. For those of you who don't know, GPT-4 is the newest sort of update to OpenAI's AI platform. If you guys remember ChatGPT, this is sort of an extension upon that, except now the big kicker is that instead of just putting in text to get a response from ChatGPT, now you can put in things like photos and it can actually analyze photos. It can analyze like the subject, the style, the mood of a photo or an image, and then analyze that, and then that affects the output. And that's a huge step because soon enough, it's probably going to be able to read and watch videos, and then eventually, I would
Oh
imagine,
yeah.
output maybe images and videos soon as well. So it's a pretty big change.
Pretty wild. Also,
Hey,
question for
hey everyone
everyone.
in the chat. Also,
Zeglina, the cat. I like the profile pic. If anyone has actually used GPT-4 or ChatGPT, like, would love to hear if you have in the comments or what your experience has been, what your feelings are on it are. Yeah, I think it's so. Yeah, the main difference between ChatGPT and GPT-4 is that GPT-4 can take image inputs. Um, yeah, Jack, what is your like main feeling right now just from hearing all the news and seeing all the ways people are using it?
yeah, initial thoughts is that this is actually crazy. It's because when text, you might be thinking like, oh, a text output. It's still not that different, but and now we're seeing things like with these text outputs, you're now able to do things as intense as like even coding. ChatGPT has been able to start doing like basic coding, building websites, things like that, because that's obviously all text. Like all coding really is a bunch of lines of text. And
Right.
so you could theoretically like upload an image of a website you like and say like, build me a website that looks like this. Obviously, it's not going to be on the same caliber as if someone does it themselves. There's probably going to be a lot of mistakes. It's probably not going to be like super editable, or done in a way that's really like well done. But that's just insane, is that you are able to ask AI to build you a website.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think it's like even more wild when you think about the normal process for creating a website is like there's probably multiple people involved. There's probably at least like a few days to weeks. And I think in like bigger organizations, it can take that long, like weeks or months to create a website. And now all you have to do is just type a sentence and then it just, or, show an image that you've drawn, and in like less than only a few minutes, it just creates something. Yeah, I think it's been wild to see that. The test taking stuff too, just like being able to pass all these tests, and there's a lot going on. I think it's like a lot to keep up with for sure.
Yeah, let me show some stuff on screen for what ChatGPT-4 has been able to do. This is exactly like you were saying, Grace. It's been out for less than 3.5 hours, and this is everything it can do. It's funny that you brought that up. And a lot of these are, using the technology. So, and then like doing something with it. So it's not like as you can see here, ChatGPT-4 was able to make a game of Pong. It didn't actually the Pong game didn't show up in the chat. They, as you can see, took this code and then applied that. So you still have to there's still manual things you have to do, but it's pretty crazy that it can do that in literally seconds.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It's, as you can see, more coding here. And writing lawsuits, which is really intense.
Oh my goodness.
And there's a ton of things that it can do. Drug discovery, find issues in the live Ethereum contract, so it can look over data that already exists and flag errors, bugs, things like that. There's a ton of uses right now that I think were not possible before without image input. And so you can only imagine where this is going to head if we allow other types of inputs soon.
Right. I also remember seeing one that was you can give it an image, like a meme or some sort of humorous image that has a lot of layers to the meaning, and you can ask it to explain the joke essentially, which is, I don't know, my brain is having a hard time comprehending that, because there's some things you think are just only a human can really understand this in the layers that are implied.
Yes.
But no, it's understanding it and explaining it to you.
Yes.
I don't know, it's wild.
I totally agree. I feel like people keep saying that, right? Is that's a thing that keeps happening, is oh, well, an AI will never be able to understand human emotion, or and it's I don't know if that's true. I kind of feel like it can. And it can read that. And I don't know, this is existential, I guess, but ultimately what the brain is just a supercomputer kind of. And so I think if it can figure out emotion, why can't another computer?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's just our existential beginning, I guess, of the episode. Have any of you guys used GPT-4 yet, or ChatGPT, for anything interesting that you guys think could be something that people use in the future? I'd be interested to know.
Yeah.
Something that I want to talk about too is whether or not AI is a threat to content creation jobs. Now that we're seeing that it can code, is it a threat to web development jobs, coding jobs, artists, as we've been seeing, now you can make art with AI.
Right.
We've known that for a while. Do you think that this is a threat to a lot of these workers?
I think, it's a tricky question. I think they're in a very yes, in some ways. I think definitely the craft of designing a website and literally clicking around on your computer and putting the layers together in the mock-up, or digital drawing, or even painting in real life, the craft of doing those things, I think, is kind of at risk, because all you need to do is give text to ChatGPT or Midjourney, and it'll generate an image for you. You don't need to sit there and do the tiny little brush strokes and all that. So I think the craft that these content creators have like taken years to, you know, months, years, days, whatever, like to develop, I think that is a little bit at risk. But I do feel like at the end of the day, like you still need someone to give the ideas, right? Like ChatGPT is not just gonna, the AI is not just gonna like create something. You still have to be the one kind of in control, like monitoring or like giving it input. And so I feel like the role of content creators will be much more about these ideas. And I think we've seen this, I know we've talked about this too, Jack, but like in the past, we've seen this in history before where, you know, like before we had computers, like, okay, for example, architecture, like now a lot of architects will do it digitally on a computer, but before they were literally drawing on paper with a pen or pencil. That was like so much of your education was trying to figure out how to do the craft of like drawing.
Modeling.
And then it became digital. And then became digital modeling. And so, yeah, I mean, I think with any type of job or career, you have to adapt. But at the end of the day, like even when architecture was on pen and paper or like, you know, even before that, like it still came back to the ideas. So I think the craft of like these content creation things is at risk, but the ideas will still prevail, and that's what we need content creators for. Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly right. I think as we move forward, like with video, assuming that like video gets to a place where AI can create like an amazing video, let's just say that's going to happen. I don't know how soon or how far away we are from that. It seems like people keep saying like, oh, we're so far away from that. But then like whenever I feel like we say that, then it's like next year and it's there. But I think, like you're saying, like I think technique is less important. So, you know, learning, like previously learning how to do, this is a very simple example, but learning how to do a Ken Burns, which is where it slowly zooms into a part of the image, was like it is a simple task, but you had to learn how to do that. Now you can pretty much in certain programs just click one button and it'll do it for you. As long as you know like what it's called, it will just do it for you. Again, like it is a technique and a craft in some ways to remove all the silences of a video, even though that's very simple. Kapwing, like where we work, you can literally remove silences now in like 3 clicks. And so I think a lot of these techniques are sort of becoming less important. And what is more important, like you're saying, is the creative. So actually coming up with the ideas, executing them, filming them in a creative way. Adding overlays and B-roll and things like that for things that you're talking about that like give added context, I think are going to become way more important. Because I'm not sure if like AI can always read the human mind yet, but it can do the really simple tasks. So technique is a little bit less important and the creative vision is more important. In the chat, we have some thoughts from Shannon. Although it is fascinating, it's a bit scary because soon it will be smarter than us and rewrite its own programming and be beyond our control. That is definitely, I think, something that a lot of people are worried about. I'm not as worried about that, frankly. I feel like, I don't know. I just feel like given, like if we can program AI to not do that, to like humans and want to make life better for us, like hopefully that it will. That's hopeful. I don't know.
No, I definitely resonate with that though. It's like on one part of me is like, oh my gosh, this is so wild. Like there's so many amazing things you can do with it. But on the other hand, it's like, I don't know if we know all the things it can do. And so that just will bring up some anxiety of like, what if it does things we don't want it to do? And it has started doing things that like these emergent properties that the developers didn't necessarily intend or like went a little bit askew from what they coded. But I think so far, at least, like we have seen them be able to reel it back when they need to. Like I think OpenAI has like restricted certain conversations or whatever in ChatGPT. And I think like we just have to be aware of these things and that it can, do things we don't intend. And yeah, I think that the ethics of it basically is still relevant and always should be relevant and should be a discussion rather than just taking it as a given that it's going to be good. And yeah, we should just be aware.
Yeah, I think this brings up another point too that we were talking about a couple days ago, actually, which is the ethics of like whether or not you should have to disclose when something has been AI edited. I think moving forward, when now we can see like pretty much blog articles you could write like almost 100 blog articles pretty much in a day and upload them all to your website, right?
Right.
But like, are people inherently more interested in reading articles that are made by a human if that's the case? That's a question I have, is like, will I prefer to read an article written by a real human person rather than AI? And if so, like, authorship and disclosing that something was written by AI might be really impactful.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I remember that.
Also,
yeah.
I wanted to say
hey,
hello
Adam.
to Adam. How are you?
Welcome.
AI will never have discernment, personality, distinct features, emotions. There will always be things that we value in AI that AI will never replace. That's exactly what I'm talking about. I think like humans can add all of those things and they can have a distinct style that AI can't really have because it's always willing to change if you ask it to. Whereas like we can't do that as much with our own writing, our own style. And what cameras are we using? I'm using a Canon 50 that's plugged into my computer as my webcam. And Grace, what do you use?
Yeah, same. I think it's Canon M50.
Yeah.
Quick tech break.
Yeah. Thanks for that.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's funny because I remember a few years ago when the Baka Mitai, I don't know if anyone remembers this, please let me know so I don't sound like not sane. But the Baka Mitai meme was like kind of one of the first, I feel like, big implementations of deepfakes on the internet, or at least in like pop culture. And we actually made a tutorial on how to make your own using like a Python script that was just online. You can go back into our videos and check it out if you want. But yeah, it was like really controversial because I think a lot of people argue that, especially when you're using someone else's face, like a real person's face, to make a fake video that like they never filmed that video, right? Oh, there it is. Yeah, exactly. Like Linus never made this video. I made this video of Linus. But like, people will see this. I mean, this one maybe was like a little bit, you can tell it's like a little wonky and like not perfectly real, but some of them look very real. And it's just scary to like have videos, images out there, even like voice clips out there when the person never did that. And people believe, like people start to think that that actually was them. And so I remember a lot of people were arguing like we should have some sort of marker that's like, generated with AI or something on it so people know. I still think that is helpful, but I don't know. I think it's also gets into like, there's a gray zone where it's like, what if you, for example, you're making a video, you write the script, ChatGPT gives you a script, but then you kind of tweak it. You add your own edits and like change it up. Should you still disclose that AI wrote it initially, even though you kind of edited it? I don't know. It's definitely, it's a gray zone. But it also makes me think like, because AI, it's right now, at least, that's trained on some sort of training set. And so maybe it'll be easier to make unique sounding content or like whatever, your video, images, whatever. Maybe it'll be easier to like make something that stands out because everyone else will be generating from the same training set. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, no, I think that's an interesting thing to look at that I'm sure someone will do one day and we could possibly potentially do. But Like, I was thinking about this for article writing, right? Like, I wonder the impact of like, okay, we could literally generate probably 50 AI generated like blog posts and post them all the time, like all at once even, and then continue on our normal schedule for writing, where we probably post like 1 to 2 a week and see like
Right.
which has more impact. Like, does Google notice what is AI
Mm,
generated, and does it like not like that? That's something I think
right.
also is pretty interesting to think about, um, and also like, yeah, my instinct also tells me like a video that's AI generated, I wonder if people just like would not watch it as much because there's
Mm,
not as much like what's also so important in video, not just the words, but literally like how you say them, like the way that your voice changes when you're speaking,
right.
and things like that. And I think all that contributes to like a video performance. And so I wonder if like one really good video is better than 10 mediocre like AI generated ones,
Mm,
um, for
right,
like
right,
a
right.
business impact or something like that.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think maybe I think even like the types of videos we're talking about, there's a difference where it's like if it's a video of something static, like a house or a tree or a bird or whatever. I guess that's not literally static, but something that's not human. I
Mm,
think that those kinds of videos are very different from if you have a human in a video and you're talking and you're moving and um, yeah, if people are familiar with the concept of like the uncanny valley, I feel
mhm.
like there's going to be that for video for a long time, especially
Yeah,
with like AI generated videos where there's like a human in it and it's like creating that human in the video. I think it's
yeah,
just going to be hard to, yeah, perfectly match like the mannerisms of a human, the speech, the cadence of your voice, and stuff like that. And we might be able to like tell for a while that like, oh, this something's like slightly off. And
yeah,
actually, maybe people would like people would like really dislike those kinds of videos potentially, because it's like it looks real, but it's like not perfectly real, so and it's
yeah.
a little bit jarring.
No, I've definitely seen
Yeah.
some videos like that before, even with just something as basic as like text to speech, like where they're trying to use text to speech
Mm,
that sounds like someone's real voice because you don't see
yeah.
them, their person. It's just like a B-roll video where they have, I don't know, maybe like a top 10 video, where it's like top
Mm,
10 video games of 2023, and it's like not a real
right.
voice, and it just sounds strange, and it makes me
Yeah.
upset. Like, I don't want to watch it. It's creepy. Um, so
Yeah, yeah,
hopefully,
yeah.
our, content creators, jobs are pretty secure right now. I think
Yeah. Although
human,
I feel like I say that, but I think with something like voiceover, like we've seen the rise of TikTok's
yeah,
voiceover in TikTok. Like so many videos use that voice, and you obviously everyone knows it's not like it's a generated voice based on someone like actually saying something. But
yeah,
I don't know, like it doesn't necessarily detract from the content most
no,
times,
yeah,
I think, or it's like become part of the culture. It's
yeah.
almost like a joke, like
Well,
an
that's kind of
inside joke of
scary, right?
TikTok. Yeah, right. So it's like
Um,
I think, and obviously, like I think a lot of times these like technology changes don't just go in leaps and bounds. Like especially with video, I think it will be hard to like
yeah,
go from no AI generated videos to like perfectly like that's not going to happen. They're not going to be perfect. But maybe if it's like over these incremental steps, people will be used to it enough that it's like, okay, yeah, I just want to like, yeah. At the end of the day, like I think what becomes more important is the storytelling. Like, how do
yes,
you tell a
totally.
story, even though AI is generating like the visuals and the sounds and whatever, but like you're the crafter of the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it also depends on the mood of the content, right? So, like, I think AI,
Yeah.
because it's not quite right, if you use it in like a comedic video, it can be really successful and funny. Like, that's why we like
Mm,
these TikTok videos that have the weird AI like voice changers, is because they're silly and they're
yeah.
telling a funny story. Or like, I don't know if you've seen the ones where it's like Biden and Obama and Trump and like all these like famous political figures, and it's like
Hmm.
sounds like their voices and they're like playing like video games and stuff. And
Yeah.
being like generally like pretty inappropriate or whatever, and you're like hearing them say
Yeah.
inappropriate things, and it's like funny because you know that that's not real, right? Like what
Right,
makes it
right.
funny is that it is AI and generative,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
not because
That's
it
true.
sounds real. Whereas I feel like for like educational videos, tutorials, things like that, where you expect like a level of seriousness, like AI is
Mm,
not it. But for
mm-hmm.
comedy, like
That's
I think you
true.
can really lean into AI right now because it's not perfect and
Right,
it's
right.
kind of silly.
That's fair. That's
Hey,
fair.
Tech
That's fair.
Point, how are you? We're
Hello.
good. We're good. Um, all right. Final
um,
question, I think.
yes. Yeah.
Um, is AI content creation a fad? I think some people
Ooh,
still are
spicy question.
questioning whether or not it's a fad because it's not
Mm,
perfect. And questioning whether or not we'll ever be able to reach a world where we can create successful videos from AI. What do you think?
hmm. I feel like no. I think no, because I don't think it's a fad. I think it's going to be around in some form in the future, because this is just the start. Like, we've literally just seen ChatGPT launched only a few months ago. GPT-4 has been out for 48 hours or 72 hours or whatever it is, as the Twitter posts say. And yeah, I just think this is the beginning of, like, we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg here. Barely any of the like GPT-4 stuff works on video, right? Like, you can't really use GPT-4 on video at all. And so they're right now mostly focusing on text input, image input, text output, and image output. I think there's been some AI generated video, like I think Facebook or Meta or whatever like did something a few months ago, a year ago. But I think video is just like this whole category that we haven't really gone into yet with all these, like the Chat GPT and GPT-4, that there's so much room to grow. So I think the technology is just going to keep getting better, and yeah, we'll just see like more and more use cases come out. So yeah, I guess my answer is no. I don't think it's a fad. What about you,
Yeah.
Jack?
No, my answer is definitely no as well. And I think the reason I wanted to ask this is like my instinct tells me is like, even if you do think it's a fad, like you should be testing all these features as they come out. Because to answer like the question that we had earlier sort of is, should we worry about AI taking over content like jobs? Like, I think you have to worry less if you have an understanding of the capabilities, the limitations, the uses of AI, and keep up with
Right.
that, because that's always changing. Because like ultimately, we're still going to need like a video expert or a content creation expert for something, whether or not that expert is creating from scratch or just putting in the correct things and using AI to its fullest potential.
Right.
I don't know, but arming yourself with that information and knowledge will help you like secure your place as a valuable, like cutting edge creator. So I think it's
Yeah.
important to keep up.
Yeah, I think that brings up an interesting point. It's like, you can't just go into these Chat GPT or GPT-4 and like, you're not just going to immediately be able to output these amazing things, right? Like, you need to know it's a tool. You need to know how to use it. And so it's not like anyone necessarily can just go in and do that. And as we said before, it like comes back to your ideas as well. So I think definitely good advice to just keep up with these things, like test them out. You could even just take like 5 minutes to test it out. Like, it doesn't have to be you like sitting and doing a course on it or something.
Yeah.
But just like being up to date with all these things, because yeah, at the end of the day, it's just like techniques change in any job. You have to adapt to how the world is moving, and like just be updated with what the technique is that allows you to create more efficiently. So yeah, I think just
I
keep
wouldn't be
testing.
surprised if also like we start to see jobs about like AI, like strategist almost, where it's like, yeah, I know how to
Oh,
use AI for marketing
Yeah.
specifically. Like that's what I'm best
Whoa.
at. Um,
Yeah.
because like this is yeah, like you said, this is just a tool. Like in the same
Yeah.
way that you could
Yeah.
probably put like, you know, video editing software on your resume, you might be able to start putting like ChatGPT proficient in like ChatGPT prompts,
Yeah.
or like create image generation with Midjourney.
Right.
Like
Right.
these are all skills that like even though they're somewhat easy and anyone can kind of do it, like you can get better at informing AI like what you want and get better
Mhm.
out results from that. And also some people like who've never tried it because they're afraid or they think it's a fad, like they've never tried it at all. So you still have a leg up over these
Mhm.
people. Um,
Yeah. Definitely.
so yeah, I would check it out after this episode. If you haven't yet, go use an AI tool and just play around with it, even if you're a little unsure about it. I think it's important.
Yeah, true. You can start using automating some of your manual tasks using Kapwing with video editing too.
It's true. You can click the first link in the description. Kapwing can edit out all your silences in your videos in just a few clicks. It can automatically generate your subtitles. It can automatically clean your audio. So, try some stuff out with video editing.
It started.
Grace, it's been real.
It's
You
been real,
guys,
Jack.
it's been real. Thanks for chatting with us. Really appreciate you guys watching and commenting every time. We're here every Friday. So I hope you guys have a good weekend, and we'll see you
Alright.
guys next week.
Yes, sweet.
Later.
See ya.